I was at Agenda 2000, and one of the people who was there was Craig Mundy, who is some kind of high mucky muck at Microsoft. I think Vice President of Consumer Products or something like that. And I hadn't actually met him. I bumped into him in an elevator, and I looked at his badge and said, "Ah, I see you work for Microsoft." And he looked back at me and said, "Oh yeah, and what do you do?" And I thought he seemed just sort of a tad dismissive. I mean, here's the archetypal, guy in a suit looking at a scruffy hacker. And so I gave him the 1,000-yard stare and said, "I'm your worst nightmare."
And so begins the first scene of a documentary that was filmed back in 2001 called Revolution OS. On this screencast of Total OS today, I just wanted to take a quick look at this documentary before I hit the sack here. If you look at the clock on the bottom right of my screen, it is 12:35 in the morning. But I wanted to do this before I went to bed. I just finished watching this documentary about the open source movement. Of course, it is called Revolution OS. Let's take a quick review here of this back in 2001. It says, a natty encapsulation of the 2-decade-long evolution of the Linux computer operating system, the chief rival to Microsoft's Windows. JTS Moore's Revolution OS consists primarily of talking heads interviews with an exhaustive selection of self-proclaimed hackers. It may not be a prime date movie unless the date is between two MIT students. The picture subjects are some of the most extreme left fringe wackos ever to grace the silver screen. Members of the staunchly anti-Microsoft's free software or open source movement, although filmmaker has built a series of surprising reversals into the film. The cheery puckish concoction that results actually seems targeted equally at the techno-illiterate and the savvy hacker crowd. It educates one while canonizing the other. And if I scroll back or scroll down here at the bottom, this pretty much summarizes Revolution OS. Much of what makes Revolution OS so enjoyable is that it's from a hacker's point of view. It hurls oodles of factoids at you while patting you on the back reassuringly, saying, "It's okay if you don't get it all, because we do." I finished watching this Revolution OS. I had heard about this movie, but I never really saw it. And like I said, I finished watching it now. I will say this, primarily as a Windows user, I found the movie completely entertaining and very, very informative about the history of the GNU project, free software or open source software, the individuals involved such as Richard Stallman, Linus Torvalds, of course, the creator of the Linux kernel. The movie explains really in simple detail, and you don't have to be a geek to understand it, really, of how all this galaxy of the open source movement, how this all came about and came to be so prevalent in society. It talks a little bit about the history of Microsoft, Bill Gates. There was something about one of the top heads at Microsoft said something like that the open source movement was a cancer in the software world. Of course, this comes from someone from Microsoft at the time. Anyway, I just want to say I highly recommend this movie. Those of you who are Linux masterminds know of this movie, or maybe you don't, but I have a feeling that most of you do. Those of you who are new to Linux or are experimenting with Linux, watch the movie. Like I said, as a Windows user, I found it really, in some cases, completely fascinating. Anyway, just a quick review of the movie documentary Revolution OS. Check it out. Total OS today gives it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching this edition of Total OS Today. Bye.